How can you have any idea if the promotions you're doing are working at all and that there's not a better or different way you should be doing them? That's what I'm talking about today in the newest video here related to feelbetterselling.com. If you're not on the email list, I encourage you to do that because that's where I'm sending out some batch updates for this stuff, as well as early previews of more refined, better organized materials, or even offers to work with me one-on-one on what you're trying to do related to this topic. Friend of mine from my hometown moved out to LA with no plan. He was couch crashing with a friend, found a way to be operating a camera for some Saturn commercials, and asked the boss there, how do we know if this commercial works? And at the time, it was pre-digital advertising. The guy's basic answer was, we don't. We just keep making ads, and that seems like what we got to do to stay in business. It has gotten better, and especially as we are not all at the brand level recognition of automobiles that can exist at a level of awareness about what BMW is or Cadillac is. For the rest of us, when we're doing a smaller operation, we need to be much more tactical at paying attention to what promotions we're doing work or matter in which we're just ineffective so we can learn from it. Now, the key word here is going to be call to action. And there's a lot of ways to look at this. There's a lot of things that have been said about it. I want to simplify the case here and, as with the rest of this feel better selling thing, explain why it's not as sleazy or weird or gross as some business things might sound. In the case of a call to action, all we really mean is, okay, well, don't just do a video about something and then say, okay, well, that's it. You want to include something of what is the next step to do. So that's part of why I keep saying to join that email list, because that's a trackable action. Now, other kind of call to actions might be wish list this game on Steam, or again, join the email list is a common one. It could be follow me on Facebook. It could be click like and subscribe and click that bell. Anything that is a ask from the promotion. And if we don't do that, what winds up happening is we have no way to tell what's working and what isn't. Because you just kind of keep going through the motions of doing stuff. Like it's, again, following an assignment or a project to be done. Well, now we're supposed to make a trailer, so we made a trailer. If you made a variety of trailers, which one is working better than others? And when you have a call to action, a tangible ask, you can actually tell numerically which have a spike. And they may not be staggeringly high, but they can help give you signals if some of them get basically no reaction, right? So if I do one of these videos and I get no signups at feelbetterselling.com, then that's my sign that that message maybe isn't one of my strongest. If I have one that really I can notice there is an improvement in the amount of people who are joining that list, that's the one for me to work on. Now, you'll also notice that out of these different asks, none of them was to go straight to a purchase. A lot of people's natural reaction when they're making their very first promotions about a game, a book, an audio book, a video course they're making, is their assumptions they want to go straight to a sale from the promotion. But if they haven't heard of you, they don't have any trust established, then it's a little bit like messaging someone on a dating app and going straight to, hey, do you want to get married? It's a little intense. It's a little too much. You need to give people space and time to figure out, what is this? Is this for me? Am I interested in this? Before they get to that stage of actually making a decision, which obviously is not as big. You don't want to go straight to that ask because it's going to basically never happen. And again, part of what this usually takes the form of is some early stage of giving me permission to let you know when there's news related to this. There's this idea of multiple points of contact in marketing. And that's basically the idea that, again, someone's not likely to go from what we call a cold lead, meaning a total stranger, to now they've made a sale. They first need to kind of get some recognition and hear about it and think about it, sleep on it, come back. Maybe a friend talks to them about it. Maybe they see something else about it somewhere else. They spot it on some other network. And if you find a way to get permission to contact them, so they do what we call convert into a warm lead because they've given you permission to contact them, it becomes much easier to get those multiple points of contact, which again, is not about manipulating anybody or anything slimy or scheming in business. It's actually about making sure that you are messaging the people who really want what it is that you're producing. This also means that when and if you get to a stage of, say, early testing for something, you have an access to the crowd of people who actually want what you're producing. So the feedback you're getting is calibrated against better serving their needs. And to the previous point from a previous video about how the idea being, if you can message the people who really want something, you're not spamming them, right? You're doing them a favor. They wanted to find out about it. They were interested in playing this game when it's ready or in watching this video course when it's available. Then you're doing them a favor. And so there's nothing better for that purpose than having a targeted way to reach the audience, people who, again, opt into being informed about this stuff. Same thing happens when you're building a community Discord for a game you're working on or for a studio that's supporting it. Those are the kind of things where you're finding who are my audience, getting to know what do they actually want from me so we can better deliver on it and meet their expectations. And for some reason, early in my career, this idea of having this call to action and measuring the response felt kind of scheming, or it seemed like a weird high score metric among marketing people. And here's what I didn't really piece together. Take, for example, my main service that I do, Home Team Game Dev, where I help people build their own video games with teammates, and we provide support services and all kinds of included materials. I have, through that group, and the testimonials vouch for this, in many ways improved people's lives, right? And I'm very proud of that fact. However, I can't do that unless someone applies to Home Team. It's not something where I go out of my way and I can just pick a stranger out of the general public and help them out. They have to choose to apply to Home Team. Now, to do that, they have to understand what it is. They have to understand it's an option for them how to do it. They can go to hometeamgamedev.com and apply. There's a process there that tries to explain what they need to know to figure out that they're in the right place for me to deliver the benefit to them. And likewise, when you're asking someone to do a call to action, you're inviting them for you to be able to help them. So that all the hard work you're putting into this game, into this audiobook, into this new album you're producing is going to benefit the people who are actually going to enjoy it. And that multiple points of contact, again, it's nothing slimy or scheming about it. It helps provide them with more information to make a decision for, is this actually what they want? The last thing you want is people to be purchasing something where they're unhappy with it, or even bothering to go out of the way to get their hypes up and then download. Even if it's a free thing, if it's not what they want, they're going to be mad. I had this experience early in the iPhone store where it used to be this common maneuver people would do. We would have a paid game, temporarily mark it down to free as a promotion, really just hoping for more proof in terms of getting it out there. Maybe someone might write a review about it online, try to get some more reviews on the App Store to be able to some star ratings, etc., hoping people will like it. We get more feedback, and then we put the price back on it. It signals that this is something people have actually been able to vouch for who aren't just ourselves, right? And it's a form of testimonial, those reviews. Outside views go a long way to help people understand and think from their perspective, will they like this? What will they like about it? But the thing that I found was that I would have these games that would have 4 or 5 star ratings. When I would mark it down to free, the ratings went down. I'd get a lot of 2 or 3 star reviews. And what I eventually figured out was that when there was a price on it, people didn't get it unless they already understood what it was and that they were going to like it. Once I made it available for free, a lot of folks got it who, to be frank, it wasn't for them. It wasn't what they had in mind. They didn't bother to figure it out, right? So the information was there. There was videos explaining it. There was text explaining it. Nothing was hidden. But when they got it for free, it was so easy just to grab it that they grabbed it without even considering, is this for me? When it wasn't, they said, big old thumbs down, 2-star review. I was hoping this was something else, and that's not what it was. That's another reason why, again, pricing something, having a fair price on it can actually help, not just get into the hands of people who will like it, but actually help your reviews, help your responses. But it also goes back to this original point of why and how, a call to action, which invites them to learn more about the thing, to check out this website for more information. Even that's a form of call to action. But that's then a process that invites them to figure out, is this for them? And you can be as transparent, as detailed as you possibly can. You can gather responses from others about what they liked about it, what they didn't. Help tell the story of, does it speak to the wants that they have for entertainment? Does it speak to the needs that they have for practical things? Is it going to solve a problem that's actually a challenge affecting their life? And if it is, you're doing them a favor to do that promotion and to do that call to action. The call to action can also help you prioritize what really matters to the people on the other end of the line. If we're not careful, a lot of us have a lot of very deep interest in pretty narrow details. We want to talk about the things that interest us as just sort of a research person or as a technical person, as a creative person. That's all fine and valid. But it might be at the cost of how many people are actually receiving your message to take that next step. And by using call to action, helping hold ourselves accountable, it comes back to the question of, am I doing these videos for me or am I doing them for you? And this is part of that business shift and about the thinking between, there's plenty of value in doing projects for our own enrichment and benefit. That's kind of games that we make in Home Team. But in terms of value for other people, there's a lot of value in figuring out what is it that they want from us that we're able to do for them. And this can give us, again, a form of listening. Even more nuanced than just what's working or isn't, it can actually help us craft our content in better ways. So take, for example, when I did the Get Yourself to Do Things programs. That began as self-command video series, and I had some videos that were getting promoting, like if you're interested in what this thing is all about, join this email list. I'm going to send out some messages with hidden videos, unlisted videos. GetYourselfToDoThings.com. Going to start a new mailing list. You can share some techniques of things that we're already finding are working. Some of the early findings. Might share some questions to help me understand from your situation, both what are the challenges you're facing, getting yourself to do things, and what's been working for you. Everybody's pretty much already familiar with the pattern of finding an accountability buddy in terms of having someone else to do it with, in terms of hold each other accountable. But the reason why it works is not usually the reason people assume. On the surface, it looks like it works because we're going to have someone supervising us, because someone's going to be watching over us. And when we see that that's the actual underlying reason, it opens up a variety of other techniques and strategies separate from accountability buddy. What's usually really happening is that we actually are more concerned about helping them achieve their goals than we are about helping us achieve our own. A lot of us will do more things for other people than we will for ourselves. We want them to be more successful in their athletic pursuits, and so we make a deal that in order for that to happen, we have to push ourselves to stick to our running routine, to stick to our new diet, whatever it might be. And through those, I was sketching out some sort of small guesses, some theories to try out some different things to figure out what was getting a response, and getting responses from the email list and discussing with people. That helped me prioritize when designing the main self-command content. What were the points that resonated? What were the points that were confusing? What were the things that weren't explained well enough or need to be cut? Are there parts I could merge together because they seemed too similar? And so if there's a video I produce related to feelbetterselling.com that leads the most people to go actually take action and join that email list, that's my signal that there was something I mentioned in that video that's particularly effective. And that can help me organize my content to better resonate with more people when I put it together. It's like this version of when comedians are testing out new material, they call it small bets. So even world famous celebrity level comedians will do a tour of shows where they're just going to random little local bars and they're just kind of going through index cards of their content. They maybe haven't even memorized these jokes yet to figure out which are falling flat. And think about this. It would actually be to their disadvantage if they went straight to a Netflix special with this new material. It's for the best. It's actually a relatively small audience that they're testing these things with. Because out of the ones that work from that context, they take it up a level to the bigger city shows. Boston, New York City, London, and so on. And when they go and do those performances, one of those gets probably adapted into the mass market Netflix special. But it begins with testing in a smaller audience to gauge what's working, what isn't, as I start to try to talk through these things and getting crowd feedback. There's no shortcut to that besides testing things. So it's part of why having a smaller audience can actually be to your benefit when you're doing this sort of thing. Speaking of crowd, volume, or size, right? There's a big difference between the kind of videos I used to do to promote stuff that were viral that might mean diluting the content so much that it no longer really has as high of an impact for people. But when you are willing and able to provide a service on the other side of it, a product that you're selling, which is what I'm doing and how I've done it now for many years, it's a different use of the channel where you don't have to worry so much about sponsorships and ad money and still be doing pretty okay. And this is also something to think about in terms of the process or the call to action, where think about how when I'm inviting for that email list for more information as this program develops, and I'm intentionally being vague about what form it's going to take because it may take more than one. Based on the information that I'm finding, based on the discussions that I'm having with people, one format this might take is just like I talked about in a previous video about how I made one-on-one lessons available to people who were then getting my one-on-one coaching and help on programming games that they wanted to program, adapting some of that material into a textbook, adapting some of that into a video course. Some people really want that personalized help and can afford it. And because I put that out there first, it resulted in better content for the mass market distribution at a more affordable price. Now, the same thing's true like for CompleteEveryProject.com. That's something where that video course is based on people have paid me over the years thousands of dollars each for training in organizing long-term team projects. That I was able to bottle that so effectively into a course that's a one-time purchase as a video so people can self-serve is better because I was willing to go out there and figure out what is a shape of business I can design and promote and connect to provide this service to get the expertise and insights I needed to prepare that material better. And one of the things that happens is if we're not open to the possibility of, are there versions of the service or the work or the creativity stuff I could doing that would cost more or less, if we're not open to the possibility of, I might be able to do something that not everyone could afford, then we're not actually able to make as good a material sometimes for stuff that everyone else could. Now, the same thing might be happening here with Feel Better Selling, where initially there might be stages of this where I offer only to people who have decided to join that email list an opportunity to work with me one-on-one on the thing that they're trying to promote and sell. Them as a person in particular to their details, their background, their goals, their objectives, the kind of thing they're doing, whether it's an audiobook, whether it's a video course, whether it's a game, whether it's whatever it is they're working on, helping them think through that, overcome those hurdles and barriers. And again, that's going to be fully tailored, fully customized, higher level of service, obviously more expensive than if I package it as an audiobook or an ebook later. But I can make that available to people sooner at a higher level of personalization. That can help also then build me my runway and expertise and experience and anecdotes to draw from when developing the material that can be available to more people at a possibly lower price. And that's something where when I've done that in the past, no one who I worked with on those one-on-ones, several of whom I still work with on one-on-ones, felt shortchanged by the fact that later on there was a $50 book or $80 course or something else that covers what they learned kind of, because that was personalized to them, because I was paying attention. There's value that you get from a teacher that you do not get from canned material. And now maybe you're thinking, okay, but Chris, I'm not doing this kind of thing where it makes sense to have coaching calls or lessons in context of nonfiction audiobooks or video programs or whatever. I want to make a game. I want to make an album. I want to do something else. This is a case where some of the time to consider what you're doing is that gradient may take the form of various forms of business to business or B2B. And this is more of a topic for another day, but the gist there is that where there might be higher paying clients that you could serve versus trying to make your living straight off into sales of smaller games or smaller albums or something, some of the higher earnings in the near term might be from having far fewer clients or serving at a much higher price because they need music made and those are skills you have. They have programming questions they need to overcome. Those are skills you're able to deliver on. And that in proportion to part of your week, if you're able to spend part of your time doing work for other companies and other people's projects where they have those needs and you have the skills to practice it, again, you can keep that income coming in. At the same time, that can be helping to improve, practice even further the skills and insights you're bringing back into your own creative output. But again, this requires a shift of thinking about what is it that I'm doing? Who am I doing it for? Am I willing and comfortable to charge those prices it would take for that to make sense? And on the one hand, that would likely have a different call to action. But on the other, think about this. If, for example, let's say I'm running a VR studio and I'm making some VR games just internal to our company. Well, one of the reasons why we might be able to secure contract work is because people have been sharing our video trailers for our games, or because we have a lot of reviews on Steam, or because people have been discussing and writing articles about the work that we're doing. Those can help make our case to land the kind of contract work. But in those sort of cases, right, the call to action has an external measurable. That's something where when other people are doing it, those numbers are public. The views on the video, the number of reviews on the game. There's pros and cons to this. It's a form we call social proof. It's why when I mentioned that my video course had over 375,000 people take it, that looks and sounds impressive because you can go check that number. But also when you're starting things, there are reasons why you occasionally want to steer people towards a call to action where the number is invisible. How many people have actually signed up so far for feelbetterselling.com? You have no idea. I do, and this is part of what gives me knowledge in the creation of my product that for someone else who's even trying to work on the same sort of stuff, compete with me, maybe they're watching this video and think, Chris, that's a great idea. I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I have data they don't about what's working and what isn't in these messages that helps me craft a superior project that's going to give better results to help people versus what they can do without access to those numbers. So I hope that you're getting excited. I hope that this is making sense to you. I realize, again, we're touching lots of concepts we can untangle further in other videos or maybe even in the organized material I'll be offering through people who join that email list. But I hope I'm helping demystify some of these basic concepts of business so that you can have a little more confidence promoting stuff and also help untangle some of these knots about why it feels weird or why it doesn't seem like I ought to be doing it or simply fumbling around because we don't know what we're doing. There's a lot of things where if we don't have the confidence to do it, we're not going to let ourselves do it. And I think of this all the time, right? I think I mentioned in one of my audiobooks, if you put an obstacle in your own way, no one else can remove that but you. Because even if someone else takes it out of your way, you're going to put it right back. And I want to help you overcome this problem so that you have more confidence in promoting your work, putting a price on it, charging a price that it's worth charging to make it ideally sustainable for you, or if nothing else, engage people who are really getting what they want out of it and delivering on value at a higher quality because you can make it a priority for yourself. But that's it for the day. I want to thank you for following along. Hope you've joined the email list already. If you haven't yet, please do. And in fact, if you think you know someone else who this might help, go send them this video and tell them to join the list as well. Check out the call to action. That's it for now. Catch you all next time. Bye for now.